Hey everybody, Kyle Goeth here from goatfromreviews.com and the Goat From Reviews YouTube channel. I'm going to get some light in here. Okay, so I've got my quick thoughts, my first reaction to the new 2023 film Silver Dollar Road. This is a documentary directed by Raoul Peck, and it follows the Reels family, who is a family that has owned a property in North Carolina that they called Silver Dollar Road. They've owned it for generations, basically. It was land that was given to them as part of kind of the post slavery how do I say it best, kind of like getting people on their feet, I guess, post those difficulties. And it's about this Reels family who has owned it for generations. It's been a place where like people look forward to raising their own kids in this group, and how developers came into the land and kind of harassed and kind of manipulated the system to try and steal this land away from these people in a perfectly illegal way, and how the system is still set up to not protect anyone. I mean, specifically in this case, an African-American family, but anyone could just like claim that they own your land. And all of a sudden now you have to fight for it back, which is such a weird and peculiar thing. I think it's based off a New Yorker article. I think the ProPublica did with New Yorker. This was a fascinating documentary because, again, this is what I love about documentaries, is when I don't know anything about the subject, or when I feel like I know something about it and I'm completely surprised. And it has shades of Ava DuVernay's 13th. It has shades of kind of, I think Viola Davis had been a producer on it in some form, and it was all, very much about, like, again, the systemic racism that exists within the basic system that we have. And even something that is given to a family as kind of I don't want to say reparation, but given to a family in a way that is supposed to be meant to be kind of bestowing you with like the ability to get on your feet. And how even though this has been passed down from generations, people can find a way to manipulate and take it away from you, and the system seems not to protect you, or it gives the ability to ignore you. And that's also another thing that happens here, is this family is essentially ignored when they try to fight for their rights back. The people are imprisoned for not getting off the land that they themselves own. And so I thought that was a very fascinating idea for a documentary, and I think there was a lot of interesting story there. I'm going to call it the things I didn't like right now, and just mention that, for one thing, I think this documentary, it's very easy to look at this documentary and see it as a one-sided argument. And that's not to say that I disagree with this family getting their land. They deserve it. Based on everything I've seen in this documentary and everything I've read about it since watching it, this family deserves their land back. It would have been nice if we had gotten some of the opposition, even if it was to showcase what the opposition is saying, and then kind of take that apart. I think this is such an easy thing to side with the people over the corporation, over the government, over the problem. It's such an easily one-sided thing that I don't think you need to ignore the fact that they were there. And I'm sure that a lot of the case was, well, certain people just didn't want to talk to the documentary crew. I get that. But there should have been more of kind of like, tell me as a filmmaker why they didn't want to talk. Give us even just something like they declined to speak here and they declined to speak there, and like just really hit hard with the fact that they declined to speak on this behalf. And give us more of their argument for why, because it felt to me so confusing as to why we weren't getting any information at all as to a lot of the whys that were going on here, that it felt as if not enough research was done. Even though I believe enough research was done, it just seemed to me that like we didn't have all the information, which is crazy. So I would have liked to have seen the argument from like the developers that were trying to get this land, as to why they thought they deserved it. Because I think that we were presented with information that was confusing, and I think it was supposed to be because the family was confused by it, but at the same time that was the case. I also think, like, from a purely structural standpoint, the story of the documentary is really good, but the structure and kind of how it was molded left me a little bit confused, and again, perhaps in a way that the filmmaker intended, but it was very confusing at times, trying to keep all the pieces together, which is kind of how I connected to the family members that were struggling, but at the same time would have been nice to have delved into a little bit more. So those are kind of my issues with the film. Overall, I think this is a case of the story is so good that this is worth watching. The structure of the documentary left a little bit to be desired, could have used a little bit more owning and a little more collective fixing, I guess. So those are my thoughts on Silver Dollar Road. Overall, it's a film I recommend. This is streaming right now on Amazon Prime, so go ahead and check it out there. You can also find goatfromreviews.com for my many written reviews. You can find Goat From Reviews on Facebook. You can also follow me at Almighty Goatman on Twitter. Instagram, Letterboxd, and Threads. You can also check out my show, Kyle and Nick on Film, that I co-host with Nick Plotchuk and the St. Paul Filmcast. We have new episodes every single week. All the links for everything I just talked about, they're down in the description, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.